Hey there, how's it going? This is Vladimir Adonis, and I'm very happy to be here with you today. Today, we're going to talk about a very important topic, if I might say so myself. And specifically, the topic that we're going to be covering today is how to generate instant sales for your business without hiring a salesperson. And guess what? This works even if you hate selling. Exactly, it works even if you hate selling. Essentially, one of the first things that I usually like to talk about when I talk about this specific topic is the why. Why is this important? Why is it we're talking about this today? Specifically, we're talking about this today. We want to prevent your business from collapsing. Um, and not too long ago, I was reading an article on Forbes, and essentially the article talked about why 90% of startups fail, and here's what you need to do differently, so that way you don't end up being one of those businesses that fails. And when I looked at this specific article, I looked at it from two different angles. The angle one was, hey, this sounds like something that college students might have to write a paper or do an article or do a project around. And if I were to be a college student, I had to write about this specific topic, I would take it serious, because I would want to get a good grade. However, it wouldn't have the same impact on me if this was something that I was kind of living, or if it's something that was near and dear to me. I'm in the second category. And the reason why I'm in the second category is because I host a local meetup. And the objective of that meetup, it's a marketing driven meetup that I host. And the objective of that meetup is to invite local business owners nearby to learn about marketing. So we talk about things such as search engine optimization. We talk about website optimization. We talk about landing page optimization. We talk about direct response type of marketing. We talk about funnels. So I get to hear stories from business owners who have had success, and those who have not had success. So I get to interact with business owners where this is their second business or third business, because the first business didn't go too well. The first business failed. I am in that exact same category as well, because I've had businesses that were not as successful. So for that reason, this topic is a lot more near and dear to me, and it's a lot more close to home, because for one, I get to interact with people on a regular basis that hasn't had as much success, and they're looking for solutions. And I'm in that same boat as well, because I've had businesses that were not successful. So this is a lot more close to home, to me, for those exact reasons. It becomes a lot more real, for those exact same reasons. Another reason why this is close to home for me is that one of the individuals that I've interacted with through hosting the meetup, had the following experience. Now, here's her story. So this individual started off in business. She had a great business, and because she had a great business, getting her first customer was not very difficult. So she got her first customer. She provided value to her first customer, and after providing value to her first customer referred her to someone else. So the referring process kind of continued for her for about 3 months. And then after 3 months, the referrals kind of dried out. So because the referrals dried out, and in order to survive in business, you need new customers coming in all of the time. What she thought was the next logical thing. Her next logical thing was to hire a salesperson, but the salesperson didn't work out for two reasons. Reason number one, that person just wasn't a good fit. And then reason number two, she just couldn't afford to continue paying this person. So here she is a month later. She had to get rid of her salesperson. She didn't know how to do any selling herself. So her business was literally collapsing around her, because she didn't really have a system to generate new leads and new blood into her business. So, at the time, we really didn't have a solution. And then I just started kind of thinking about it. And here's the solution that we came up with. The solution that we came up with is an automated webinar. It's a marketing driven webinar that allows an individual to record a training in education, a marketing series, to draw in their prospective clients. So it's a one-time recording. And once you get the recording right, that is, and then after you record it, that presentation can interact with as many people as possible. The webinar was a solution, and the reason why it was a solution is it's one of the fastest ways to turn prospects from cold to hot. So if a prospect is having a pain point, and that individual comes in to listen to your presentation or to your webinar, if you do the webinar correctly, if you do it the way that I'm going to talk to you about today, you have the ability to turn those individuals from cold to hot very quickly. Of course, obviously, a webinar, it costs a lot less than hiring a salesperson. That's the obvious. It doesn't call out sick. It automates the selling process, and it allows you to gain authority and quickly get your audience to like and trust you. Okay, so as I saw that webinar can be a solution, I was kind of curious. I wanted to see how is it webinars are used to warm up prospects, to recruit, and to acquire new prospects from an industry standpoint. So I did some research, and when I did some research, I looked at the Content, Marketing Institute to see how often or how widely used are webinars. Webinars are something that companies or businesses use a lot to recruit and to acquire new users. And what I found is that it's the second least mechanism that is used to acquire new customers. As you can see, things such as social media, case studies, and blogs, those things are at the top, and webinars and webcasts are not necessarily used as much. So then, I look for different articles to say, hey, I think it's a great thing, and let me see if anyone else feels the same way. So as I was doing some research online, I saw other sources. So it was kind of validated through other sources, many other sources that talks about why webinars are great. For example, this specific article is given 10 reasons why webinars are great for every business, and we'll talk about what some of those reasons are. But specifically, it's an easy, a much cost-effective way to go ahead and acquire new users. And if you do it correctly, if you do it the way that we're going to be talking about in today's training, you will most certainly put yourself in a position where you can win. Um, so then my next question was, hey, why don't more businesses use webinars to acquire users? And perhaps they don't know where to get started and how to structure it for maximum output. They think they need to know a lot of selling techniques in order to make it work. And in fact, you really don't need any set selling techniques at all. Um, what is a marketing webinar and how can it work for your business? It's a marketing mechanism specifically engineered to motivate your prospects to buy, even if you hate selling and have zero sales skills. It's about a framework. Once you know and you can kind of just plug in your product services into the framework, it makes things just that much more easier. Now, who is this for? This is for people who are coaches, experts, consultants, course builders. If you sell information online, this is for you. This is for service-based businesses as well. If you want more customers, you want to charge more, and you want the freedom, this is certainly for you. How will this training be different from whatever it is that you may have attended? I know you may have attended other webinars, you may have listened to other trainings online. And the way that this is going to be different is that you will learn specific things by the end of this training webinar. You will learn that your business can consistently get leads without a salesperson. You'll learn how to create a marketing webinar that converts without having writer's block, and you will learn how to get consistent leads to your webinar without wasting any money. So those are the things that you're going to learn by the end of this webinar session. One other chart that I looked at is I wanted to kind of just understand, as I mentioned earlier, we looked at a chart that said webinars are the second to the least mechanism used to acquire new users. But I wanted to kind of just see what are the conversion rates? The conversion rates across many industries. So across excuse me, across the many different industries, the conversion rate across most industries is below 2%. Our goal today is to teach you some mechanisms, some methods that's going to allow you to position yourself to get much higher results. 2% is not so great. So if you can find an acquiring system, a system to acquire users at a much higher percentage to position yourself for a much higher conversion rate, then you're in a position to win. So now imagine this. Can you imagine just answering all of your prospects' objections before it even comes up? Imagine being able to quickly build rapport with your audience, getting them to like and trust you. Imagine having an automated sales process which free you from begging people to do business with you. Imagine not having to hire a salesperson to do selling for you. Imagine using a proven system to quickly turn prospects cold from cold to hot. Now, all of the above is possible through a marketing driven webinar. That is what we'll be discussing today. So, at a first thought, most people, including myself, go about thinking hiring a salesperson is the most effective way to generate consistent sales for your business. And as discussed earlier, that was not the case for the individual story that I told you because that person didn't work out. So that person wasn't a good fit. And she didn't have the capital to be paying a salesperson salary. So here are some of the downsides to hiring a salesperson. You have to train them and hope they follow your script, and they can only interact with a limited number of people at a time. So you have those. You have the financial constraint, and you also have the constraint where this individual can only communicate and interact with a certain number of people at a time. And then what happens when you hire the wrong person? You waste money on payroll. You waste money on just your resources. You waste your time. You waste their time. You waste money, and it's just not necessarily a good process. And if you're taking that person through some type of counseling session to try to counsel them out, sometimes it's not always easy. Sometimes you have to go through certain types of steps and certain types of procedures before you can terminate the individual. So more times wasted there. So, I had to choose a more effective and automated system. And when presented as a host for this meetup, I am presented with different problems that I am to find solutions to. So when I was presented with this individual's case, I had two choices. I could have kind of just ignored it and say, "Hey, we don't have a solution for you," and kind of just move on. Or I could have said to her, "Hey, just hire another salesperson. That person didn't work out. You can just go hire another salesperson." So the old way is to pay a salesperson annual salary. That's the old way, and or manage a non-performing knucklehead. That's the old way. Those are some of the old things that you can do. The new way is a marketing-driven webinar that sells your products and your services, and you do it once, you do it the right way, and you let it do the marketing and the selling for you. I'd much rather go the new route. A marketing driven webinar. Businesses are now realizing that education based webinars, it helps them reach more people online. Its goal essentially is to educate prospects and thereby quickly build rapport, which helps makes more sales. Those are the goals of an education based webinar. A webinar is ideal for your business because it provides value to your prospects. You pay for it once and you receive value over and over again. It educates your target audience based on their desires. It can convert at a mass. So basically, you can have a webinar that can communicate to about 1,000 people at once. It doesn't call out sick or give you an attitude. Those are some of the benefits of a webinar. You might be saying to yourself at this point, "Okay, Vladimir, I understand the benefits of a webinar and how it can help my business, but how in the world will I know what to write or say on the webinar?" So that's the next thing that we're going to cover. We're going to basically give you a structure that's it's going to make it a lot more easier to kind of structure your content to know exactly what you need to say on it. And great webinar content. So essentially, how to create a valuable webinar content without having writer's block. It's not fun looking at a blank screen and not knowing exactly what it is that you want to write. So you want to have a structure to be able to write your content. Um, Only people with years of experience can structure webinar content. So when I first started looking at webinars, and I saw how they were structured, and I saw some of the individuals that were giving out these type of presentation, it seemed a bit intimidating, to be honest with you. So I thought to myself, man, there's no way I can write content to attract people. These individuals who are presenting these webinars, they seem like they're gurus. It appears as though they've been in the industry for a very long time. There's no way that I can compete with them. I said only gurus can write these type of content. So it just seemed like a far-fetched goal. So for that reason, I went ahead and I just kind of just followed some of the patterns of non-experienced marketers. So what I saw that the non-experienced marketers were doing, and I duplicated those same efforts because those efforts seemed a lot more attainable and it seemed just that much more easier. They would create digital flyer with services and promote it all over the place. So, for example, if I'm offering services for search engine optimization, website building, flyers, printing services, I would kind of just list all of my services on a specific flyer, and I would just share that information with as many people as possible. That's the pattern. That's the pattern of non-experienced marketers because it's just very easy. You can just go to a print shop, get your information printed on a flyer, on a digital flyer, and just and just spam the entire internet with that information as much as possible. And one of the other things that they would say on it is, hey, I'm an experienced web designer, I can get the job done, hire me now. To some extent, that's what the non-experienced marketers do, is it just say, hey, I'm great at what I do, hire me now. There's no education, there's no value base in the process. And then I started to kind of just compare this to a prospect that is going for a job interview. So let's just pretend that I'm going two different types of prospects are going for a job interview. We have one prospect that just lists some of the services that they've provided in the past. They say, "Hey, I've provided banking services, customer service experience, customer service, and sales services. Those are the services that I've provided. You should hire me." That person doesn't elaborate. They don't educate the prospective employer as to why they are a good fit. They don't elaborate on how they are solution oriented, team oriented, how they can kind of help navigate through certain challenges. They don't do any of that. They just kind of just say, hey, hire me, and this is why. They don't go into detail as to how they can provide solutions to certain problems. They don't do any of that. They just kind of just list their credentials and say, hire me. Then you have another individual that comes in and really thoroughly educate the employer on certain processes. They educate the employer on why they are a good fit. They go into detail. So let's just say if they're talking about a specific skill set, they go into detail as to why that skill set is going to be applicable to certain tasks that the employer has. The individual that goes into a little bit more detail that educates the employer on why them will win the job every single time. So then again, when I started looking at it from that specific standpoint, I said to myself, hey, if I am because your prospects, kind of just going back to, you know, the non-experienced marketer approach versus the marketer that takes the time to educate their prospect. If I am a prospect or your prospects, they have many different options. So because they have many different options, you want to be on the side that's educating your prospect. You want to be on the side that's motivating your prospect. You want to be on the side that's helping them move towards action and giving them reasons why. You want to be on the side that's creating the marketing um, education webinar that educates your prospects on why the products or your services is going to solve certain pain points. So, after going through that, I said that, hey, it's a no brainer. I need to learn how to better communicate and how to better educate the prospects in the process, because it was just obvious that that type of processes will win over the individuals that just kind of just list all of their services and says hire me and doesn't educate the individual. So then we came up with how to create engaging webinar content without having writer's block. So what this is going to do, this is going to help you to stop staring at a blank screen. It's going to help you to stop spending weeks trying to figure out how to write on your how to write your webinar content, because to some extent, sometimes the non-experienced individual that is not going through the process of educating their prospects, it could just be that because they don't have the knowledge or they're not willing to take the additional step to take it. It could just be something that's frightening to them. So then we begin with the framework. And once you have this framework, it's going to make it just that much more easier for you to be able to whip out some content for your webinar. So your prospects usually have a problem, and you usually want to start off with thinking of what their problem is, and then after that, figure out what your solution is going to be. So your prospects right now, they have some type of big problems that they're facing. They have some issue that they're facing. They're going through some type of a pain, and they want to arrive at some type of a solution, right? So before you start to produce any type of content, think about the problem that you're solving for your prospects. So think from your prospects perspective, and think about the problem that they're having right now and the solution that you're going to be offering to them. So here are some examples. So as an example, one of the problems that a customer segment could be having right now is they could be saying to themselves, I'm not getting any conversions to my website. Okay. So they're getting traffic to the website. They're not getting any conversions to the website. So how would you frame that if you were to start to get in the mindset of your prospect and get ready to produce content for your prospect? Your solution would be 3 steps to increase website conversion. So just by you coming up with that solution, right, you have content. That's the beginning of you being able to create content around that specific solution. By you saying 3 steps to increase website conversion, then you can go into what those 3 steps are. So just by having that frame of mind, just by having this simple framework, you're in a position to begin to start to write content, right away. And great content is that content that's going to solve your prospects' problems. Here are some more examples. I can't get any free traffic from Google. A solution, or the way that you can kind of frame to begin to frame your content, if that's the problem that your audience is having, you can say 4 steps to optimize your website for free traffic from Google. So as you begin to talk about that solution, 4 steps, then you have plenty of room to kind of just elaborate and start to produce a whole lot of content around that specific problem as you provide the solution. Another problem can be, I can't afford to pay a web builder high fees to build a website. So then your solution could be how to build your first website for under $100. So as you can see here, once you know what the problem is, and when you start thinking in terms of your prospect's problem, you immediately put yourself in a position where you can kind of just reverse that and come up with a solution very easily, very quickly, and thereby put you in a position to begin to be able to write great content for your prospects. All right. So now that you know what the problem solution model is, we're going to kind of just continue with our framework. The next part of the framework is what we call claim proof benefits. So now that you know what your prospects' problems are, you're going to make a claim. One claim, you're going to provide 2 proof points, and then you're going to go ahead and elaborate on three benefits. A claim is very easy to make. You can very easily make a claim. You can say, hey, I can do this. You can say, hey, I can do that. A claim is extremely easy to make. You can very easily make a claim. But then again, a claim needs to have, need to have proof. And if you say, hey, I'm going to, if I say, for example, I'm going to show you how to automate your selling process without hiring a salesperson, right? So that's a claim. I'm making that claim, but I got to be able to show proof, and that's one of the things that I'm doing right now. I made a claim, how to instantly get sales in your business without hiring a salesperson. Now I need to go ahead and provide the proof. So a claim is very easy to make. So once you make the claim, after you make the claim, you got to start out. You got to go in and start to provide the proof. And the proof to me is that's the meat of the content. So when I go in and I start providing proof, there's different types of proofs that you can provide. So we'll go through some of the proofs and some of the example. To begin with, there's logic proof, and basically with logic proof, you use logic to explain it so that they logically understand what it is that you need to do. With logic proof, your prospects in some cases, they may not be familiar with what it is that you're offering. So you want to go ahead and walk them through the logical process of it. So for example, if I'm walking my prospect through building a website, I'm going to say to them, from a logical standpoint, you need a domain name first, then you need hosting, then you need website building services. So I'm walking them through the logic and saying, hey, you might think you need this first, but in all actuality, this is the thing that you need first. The next one is visual proof, and visual proof are, photos, charts, tables. An example of that is sometimes people who offer search engine optimization services, so SEO services, they may show that, hey, according to this chart from your Google Analytics, from the prior people that we've worked with Google Analytics, they started off with having with getting 12 traffic a month. And then after they after we work with them and they receive our services, they're now getting 100 traffic a month. So you can basically use those charts to kind of just show visual proof and visual representation. Demonstrate proof is just basically it's a demo. You're basically showing a demo of your product. So if I have a product, for example, that helps people build landing pages in 30 minutes, you can go and you can demonstrate that to individuals. Say, hey, my product, I have this great tool that helps you build a website in 30 minutes or less. You can go online and you can demonstrate that. You can show them a demo of how a website can be built very, very quickly. The next one is before and after. And before and after is basically showing, hey, this is where you were before you consumed or you took advantage of my product, and this is where you're at now. An example of that can be a training program that helps someone lose 20 pounds. So before, this person was at this number of weight, and now they're at that number of weight. So basically, another before and after, you can say, this person was making $100 in their business before they went through my training course, and now after they went through my training course, they're not making $400 a month. So basically, before and after. And most of your clients are at a before state, and your goal is to get them at an after state. Another proof point can be third party data. According to Forbes, people or businesses who employ lead magnets are 4 times likely to generate leads than those who don't. So essentially, I'm going through and I'm talking about third party data, because if I am the only one that's saying it and I can't necessarily back it up with other sources, it doesn't have as much weight. It doesn't have as much value. Kind of like when you're in school, you have to be able to source other data, other data points, because otherwise it just doesn't have as much value. The next proof point is the given reason why. So basically, this is where you're telling a person, hey, after you do this, it's going to help you, and this is why. So if I am, telling someone that if they get an automated webinar, a marketing driven webinar, is going to help them, and this is why. It's going to help them to be able to save money on having a salesperson. It's going to help them with not having to work with a knucklehead salesperson. It's going to help them to be able to automate their selling process. It's going to be able to give them free time. So basically, here you're just giving them the reason why. Next is authoritative proof. Authoritative proof is basically using some other authority in your business. In your industry that is well known. So, for example, for me, if I'm talking about sales funnels, I can use Russell Brunson as an example, because this is an individual that is well known in the funnel industry. He's a well known individual in that specific industry, and because he's a well known individual, I'm using him as a proof point to say, hey, this person is well known. He has a huge following. He's been in the funnel making business for a very, very long time. So that's someone that you can use. You want to use authoritative proof. And then we move on to the next part of the framework are benefits. 3 benefits. You have, hey, these are the benefits that you're going to receive after you use my service. Before using my service, you were here. After you use my service, you're going to be there. Where are your prospects now? Where do they want to? Where will they be after using your service? So highlight the before and the after, so that way you can paint a picture of how your products or your services can help you. Hey, before you had to deal with a salesperson. Before you had to manage personalities. Before you had to manage emotions. Before you had to, spend all this money on salary. Now you're going to have an automated salesperson. An automated sales system that doesn't call out sick, that doesn't give you an attitude, that saves you money. So be able to paint out the before and the after. So once you have that, that's the essentially, the framework for being able to consistently be able to write the right content without having writer's block. Once you employ and apply this framework, it makes it just that much more easier for you to be able to write content. Now, after you have content, Now you have content. You understand the value of a webinar. Now you have content for your webinar. You've written the content for your webinar. The next thing you might be asking me is, okay, how in the world am I going to get traffic for this thing? How am I going to get people to show up for it? How can I do that without wasting money? So as we transition, we're going to talk about how to get consistent leads for your webinar without wasting any money. What methods to follow for success, because there is definitely a method that you can follow that's going to help you. Now, when I first started, I followed what I call the billboard ads model. And what is the billboard ads model? The billboard ads model, essentially, what that does is that's something that allows you to